what you're looking here is the porch entrance to our old place called Duck Hill. We walked away from 34 years of making, nurturing, loving a garden. How many thousands of perennials and bulbs did we leave behind? How many flowering shrubs? How many trees that we planted young and watched grow and stretch, becoming flowering umbrellas, casting shade and turning fiery in the fall. When I planted these 4 crab apples, they were tiny. We left behind the drifts of flowers that only happens with the passage of time. Things like snowdrops, winter aconites, spring phlox in the woodland, verbascums, Johnny jump-ups, poppies, and larkspur in the graveled gardens, and lungworts spreading their haze of blue in the back of the borders. I thought that I would always live at Duck Hill, that this would be my last house. It wasn't big, a simple farmhouse, old and quirky, with small book-filled rooms littered with down-cushioned sofas and chairs in faded linens and chintz, forgiving, frayed Oriole rugs on the floor. There were enough bedrooms in its rabbit warren to house our children when they came home, and in later days, their wives and husbands and their children. The kitchen, which was the heart of the house, was spacious with a great old stove, shelves of crockery, and a long table and chairs in the middle, and doors opening out to the terrace and garden. It is so American to turn our backs on a home, to move on. And American too, that in a matter of months, it is all wiped away, those drips of flowers, those fragrant shrubs, those young trees. Even the old farmhouse is torn down, obliterated, to make way for the new important structure that is the new owner's home. So everybody said, why did you do this? Why did you leave? This was the view from the kitchen, and there was a little terrace there. And the answer was twofold. North Salem is in Westchester County, and taxes were really high. And if we were being honest with each other, the garden was getting to be too much for us. My husband, Bosco, had just turned 80, and I was no spring chicken. And it was 3 acres of intensive plantings. And I really loved to do the work myself. We had a helper once a week, but I couldn't afford to turn it over to somebody, and I didn't want to do that. So we decided to move on. At first, for a few weeks, I was stricken. But slowly, stirrings of excitement happened. I started to get excited about finding another old quirky house, an old farmhouse. I dreamed of an orchard. I dreamed of a meadow. Bosco was dreaming of a Victorian with those wonderful high ceilings and impossible staircases. So I knew it was going to be a compromise. We had decided to go to Northwest Connecticut. I had always loved the countryside up there. It is beautiful. And we had friends there, and I thought if we were moving, it would be nice to move somewhere where we knew people already. So it just wasn't just going somewhere cold. Well, we looked and we looked and we looked for many months. And we ended up not with an old farmhouse or a Victorian. We ended up with a 18th century meeting house that had been the first Methodist church in New England. And the reason that we bought this place, or we decided on this place, was this. This was the view from the front of the house. It was 17 acres of fields and woods